Your top stories this evening sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. September 1, 2025. The day Guyanese will go to the polls. President urges the nation to remain vigilant and unified. Ferguson reminds Guyanese to remember ADRIANNA Young as Guyana celebrates its 59th independence anniversary. No elections held in Guyana in support of Venezuela's SHAM elections for the ESSEQUIBO region. And BARABINA roads and bridges almost impassable. Residents cry for help. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Monday, May 26th edition of the HGP Nightly News. Happy Independence Day, Guyana. We tell you this evening that Guyanese will go to the polls on the 1st of September. So says President Irfaan Ali. Antonio Day will give you more details.
The 1st of September 2025 as the date for national and regional elections. Let me be clear, the 1st of September 2025 as the date for national and regional elections.
That was Head of State President Irfaan Ali. According to discussions with the Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, the Guyanese head of state declared that the organization is prepared for the election process. He disclosed this during his presidential speech commemorating Guyana's 59th anniversary of independence. This year, the anniversary celebrations were held in Berbice. The president further stated that the proclamation for the dissolution of Parliament will be issued shortly.
And in keeping with the Constitution, soon I will issue the proclamation dissolving the Parliament.
Since this year is an election year, the head of state stated that his administration will make sure that the voting process is free and fair. He also urged Guyanese to remain unified in this season and to avoid strife and discord by all means.
As we mark 59 years of independence, let us lift our eyes to the horizon. Let us join hands across regions and religions, across language and lineages, and let us move forward, not as 6 people, but as one people.
According to General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, Civic Barajagdio, his party has always stood for democracy, social justice, economic growth, and national unity. In a press statement in response to the announcement of elections, Jagdio said his commitment remains unshaken, and I quote, "We will continue working to build a Guyana where every citizen, young and old of every race, gender and religion, has the opportunity for a progressive and prosperous life." End of quote. I'm Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, despite Venezuela's unilateral move to install a governor over Guyana's Essequibo region, no such election took place on Guyanese soil. Guyana continues to assert full sovereignty over its territory with strong condemnation from President Irfaan Ali and international backings.
With Venezuelan authorities claiming that elections were held on Sunday in a specifically created micro-district of 21,403 voters in Venezuela's Bolivar state on the Guyanese border, President Nicolas Maduro announced that a governor has been appointed to, quote-unquote, Guyana Essequibo, Venezuela's name for the region. According to Maduro, Neil Valamizar, the ruling United Socialist Party's candidate and a Navy commander who often appear in uniform on the campaign trail, received 4,720 votes, making him the first governor of what the regime has called Venezuela's 24th state. Turnout in the micro-constituency was reported to be about 32%, with Valamizar securing nearly all the votes. However, his position is entirely symbolic and carries no legal or operational authority over the Essequibo region, which remains under Guyana's control. Importantly, no elections occurred in Guyana's Essequibo territory. Delivering his Independence Day address as the nation marked its 59th anniversary of political independence from Britain. President Irfan Ali strongly condemned Venezuela's actions, declaring that Guyana's borders are a settled matter in law and history.
We are not aggressors. We are protectors. But let no one mistake our peacefulness for weakness. If our sovereignty is challenged, if our land is threatened, we shall rise as one nation, one people, one destiny.
Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs, Michael Kozak, issued a statement on Sunday denouncing Venezuela's continued effort to undermine Guyana's territorial integrity, specifically condemning the latest so-called election in ESSEQUIBO as illegitimate and provocative. On the ground in Region 1, Guyanese officials also rejected any suggestion that Venezuelan electoral activities occurred within Guyana's borders. Margaret Lambert, Prime Ministerial Representative for Region 1, stated in an interview that no Venezuelan officials ever entered the region to campaign or request votes for the so-called election.
Because we are comfortable and knows that our government is capable to have us safe in this region, because we are safe here without any problems. The Venezuelans that are living here, they are peaceful with us and we live together in unity.
Similarly, Jason Ramjan, the Assistant Regional Executive Officer for Region 1, confirmed that there were no signs of Venezuelan electoral activity within any Guyanese communities.
To date, we haven't observed or been told of any such event happening here in our communities. We've never seen or heard of any accumulation of persons that will be participating in such fraudulent elections.
Tianaco reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
On the eve of Venezuela's controversial election to appoint a so-called governor over Guyana's Essequibo region, President Irfan Ali addressed a large crowd at a patriotic concert in Anna Regina, reaffirming that the territory is and will always be part of Guyana. Find out more from Tiana Cole.
With hundreds of Guyanese gathered in Anna Regina on Saturday evening for a patriotic concert on the eve of what has been widely condemned as a sham election by Venezuela to install a so-called governor over Guyana's Essequibo region, President Irfan Ali delivered a clear message that Essequibo will always belong to Guyana.
One thing is clear, now and forever, all of Essequibo belongs to all of Guyana, and that is the way it will remain.
President Ali reminded that the International Court of Justice, ICJ, which is yet to give its final ruling in the border controversy, has been consistent with its provisional rulings. These rulings have demanded that Venezuela must refrain from taking actions that would escalate the situation in the Essequibo region, which has been under Guyana's control for decades.
Venezuela claim to these waters is just as far-fetched as its claim to Guyana's land territory.
The president also recounted a troubling incident earlier in the week where Guyanese military personnel patrolling the Cuyuni River came under fire from armed groups operating from the Venezuelan side.
Guyana formally protested this attack and reminded Venezuela that under international law, Venezuela bears the responsibility for ensuring that its territory not be used to attack or otherwise harm Guyana.
President Ali denounced Venezuela's campaign of provocation and misinformation. He told the gathering that Guyana will remain committed to the rule of law and diplomacy and will not be intimidated or coerced.
Tonight, we will demonstrate in culture. We will demonstrate in dance and music. We will demonstrate in what binds us together as a nation. And we will showcase not with weapons, but we will showcase with our love, our culture, and our peaceful nature tonight, who we are, what we stand for.
He also assured the gathering that Guyana enjoys strong support from the international community, including CARICOM, the Commonwealth, the Organization of American States, OAS, and the United Nations Security Council, all of which have condemned Venezuela's continued aggression.
Today, in one voice, all of Guyana, one Guyana, say to Venezuela, you are dead wrong. Our borders were settled in the arbitral award of 1899, and ESSEQUIBO belongs to Guyana.
Tianaco reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
This is the HGP Nightly News. Stay with us. There is more news ahead. Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News. Antonio Day informs us that as Guyana commemorates its 59th independence anniversary, Opposition Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson proposed that citizens should be reminded that ADRIANNA Young's case remains unresolved as the nation considers its past and the future.
As Guyana celebrates its 59 years as an independent nation, Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson has urged citizens to remember that justice was not served to the family of ADRIANNA Young. MP Ferguson recently made this comment during an exclusive interview with Nightly News.
The government, rather than allowing the family to get justice, we see exactly all the machinations that are being played out by this regime.
As a reflection of Guyana's 59 years of independence, the opposition MP explained that the country has set the standard in its oil and gas sector, among other notable accomplishments. She lamented that disappointingly, public and private sector workers are not reaping the benefits from the country's generated oil revenues.
As a nation where we're blessed by oil resources, we would have recognized that not all Guyanese are enjoying this patrimony that is deserving to them, because we have an administration whose only interest, whose only intent is to ensure that their friends, their families, their cronies, and even themselves, benefit tremendously.
Ferguson admitted that the discrimination and victimization have been commonplace under the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic, and referred to the parliamentary dictatorship that excludes opposition members from consultation on matters of national importance.
Let us look at our parliament, for instance. In this 59 years, yes, the government might be preaching democracy, but in 59 years, we would have seen how the National Assembly or the Parliament of Guyana is being managed, is being handled by the Speaker of the National Assembly.
In light of this, Ferguson made these comments to Guyanese as they engage in self-reflection and retrospection under the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic.
Rather than this government staving off, rather than this government finding ways and means how to ensure that our citizens are protected against Venezuela threat, we would have seen how they have handled this entire situation. 2025, when we have to go to the poll in this 59th year as an independent nation, we gotta go knowing that we have to get rid of the People's Progressive Party.
I'm Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
The deplorable condition of most roads in Region 1 continues to irk the residents. Citing neglect, residents are calling on the relevant authorities to immediately intervene. Here's more. Since 2021, the Ministry of Public Works commenced studies in order to assess and undertake necessary repairs, since most of the roads in Region 1, Mabaruma, are in a deplorable state. While those studies are apparently still ongoing, residents and surrounding villages continue to feel the brunt of neglect. Barabina is one such community. The residents there are crying out bitterly over the extremely bad conditions of their roads that need urgent fixing or rehabilitation because their livelihood is being drastically affected. Yulin Williams has been living in Barabina for the past 45 years.
Yeah, this road, since me growing up, this road there like this, very bad. And now me start get children and me children them punishing a lot. And I'm cheering them alone, me and all also. Because when we got to go to work, this is the only bus working, and sometimes the bus full, me's got to walk out.
The government in 2024 had announced that over 1.7 billion had been injected for the rehabilitation of vital roads in Region 1. Spearheaded by the Ministry of Public Works Hinterland Roads Program, the investment was supposed to have paved the way for improved accessibility, connectivity, and economic activities in many communities in Region 1. In spite of that injection of 1.7 billion, the roads and bridges in BARABINA are worsening. Delicia Marks, a resident of BARABINA, says she has not seen a single contractor in her 6 years of living in BARABINA.
Well, the condition of the road is really bad, especially when the rainfall, the water get high, and you cannot really come in. Cars and so will come, but usually up to by the bridge because they don't want to pass because of the water. It is be high. And the hail as well get bad from the rain, like it make a lot of drains and so on the road.
We also caught up with this motorcyclist who was happy to have raised his concerns over the deplorable state of the roads and bridges in BARABINA.
This road is, at the moment, is very terrible, very bumpy. The rocks so sharp and sometimes bore my bike wheel road terrible condition. All the car getting damaged.
How do you want the government help?
Well, I will be glad, not me alone, the whole community, but be glad if the government could concrete the road.
The residents are calling on the Minister of Public Infrastructure, Wanejel, to take immediate action to alleviate the neglect and hardships endured by them on a daily basis when using the roads and bridges in BARABINA. Reporting for HGP Nightly News from BARABINA, Region 1, Mabaruma, I am Travis Chase. You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Stay with us, there is more news ahead. Thanks for staying with us here in the HGP Nightly News. Our developing story. There is absolutely nothing to smile about in Mabaruma, Region 1, especially at a building which was intended to be an Amerindian hostel. Police in that region are forced to frequently patrol and monitor activities at that hostel. Nightly News traveled to that region recently as part of our border region coverage, and what we discovered at that hostel is shocking. The Amerindian hostel at Kumaka, Region 1, which was intended to provide accommodation to Guyanese indigenous peoples, have been taken over by more than 50 Venezuelan migrant families, all of whom have fled the humanitarian crisis in Venezuela and have crashed head-on with yet another crisis. With no official record of the families occupying the hostel, authorities in Region 1 and by extension the government seem comfortable with the migrant families who have taken over the hostel. A woman who gave her name only as Belki told Nightly News that she and her family have been occupying the hostel for the past 3 years.
Como vivimos todo.
So everything is okay. So them had to work for get them money and buy them food, because if they don't work, then they don't get nothing.
Nightly News observed the unsafe and unsanitary conditions at the hostel. On the eastern end of the swamp are a number of structures put up by Venezuelan families who are desperate for long-term accommodation. The interior of the building has degraded, and the migrant families are now begging government for help.
No, el gobierno aquí a nosotros.
It's a force, yeah. When they meet first, then we helping them the ACNUR, and the next them helping them, but not now. And now they got to work.
The main access to the hotel via an approximate 300-meter bridge can only be described as a death trap. Part of the death trap was rehabilitated by migrants living along the stretch in the same deplorable conditions. Usually reliable law enforcement officials have told Nightly News that even though there have been no credible reports of Venezuelan military or intelligence personnel crossing into Guyana through Region 1, there is still some degree of worry in Region 1, given that a few new faces take up residency in the region, especially at the hostel frequently. Police, the source says, make regular checks at the hostel, but their hands are tied as it relates to illegal entry of the migrants. The reality of the situation is that the Amerindian hostel behind me, which was built to accommodate Guyanese Amerindians, is no longer doing that. Rather, it is accommodated by Venezuelan migrants. Reporting for HGP Nightly News from Cumaca, Region 1, I am Travis Chase. On Friday, the National Assembly approved a supplementary sum of $12 billion to support infrastructure development in the housing sector for multiple new housing schemes across Guyana. Daisy Richards will tell you more.
The 104th sitting of the National Assembly on Friday approved a supplementary sum of $12 billion to support infrastructure development in Guyana's housing sector. According to the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, the funds will go towards developing new housing schemes in Regions 1, 3, 6, 7, and 9.
For the development of the new housing scheme in 2 areas in Region 1, and this is in Port Kaituma, as well as for an extension at Mabruma. Likewise, in Region 3, at Anna Katrina, Cornelia Island, Edinburgh, that's Phase 2. In Region 6, for the new areas of Providence and Glasgow.
In total, the allocation will support the development of over 3,500 residential house lots in the 5 regions. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson questioned the development of house lots in Golden Grove on the east bank of the Marara.
I have been receiving complaints that persons who would have been allocated lands some 3 years now in that particular area, they're yet to see their lands, that's one, and secondly, the area is inaccessible.
Minister Crowell pointed out that infrastructure works are being executed on 2 blocks, and as soon as those works are complete, allottees will have access to their land.
Block 13 and all of those areas, those have access.
For AGP Nightly News, I am Daisy Richards.
Stay tuned for your regional news.
Good evening, I'm Daisy Richards with Monday's edition of the Regional News. We begin with news from Barbados. Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley on Saturday night announced that she will lead the Barbados Labour Party BLP into the next general election, reversing her previously stated intention to step away after 2 terms in office. Speaking at a celebration rally to commemorate the recent victory of Chad Blackman, who won the St. James North by election last Wednesday, as well as the anniversary of the 2018 sweep at the polls, Motley cited the immense and ongoing global and local challenges as the driving force behind her decision to stay on. She pointed to the COVID-19 pandemic, its lingering aftermath, global conflicts, and economic instability as key disruptions that significantly affected the administration's progress since her second term began in 2022. The Prime Minister underscored the mounting pressures from climate change, artificial intelligence, and regional instability, noting that Barbados must be ready to meet these head-on. Motley, 59, added that her decision was not taken lightly, adding she was also influenced by numerous appeals from the public over the past year, including a wave of encouragement during the just concluded St. James North by-election campaign. While in Argentina, the Archbishop of Buenos Aires used his pulpit on Sunday to voice criticism of Argentine President Javier Milei's policies addressing poverty and support for pensioners. At a Te Deum religion ceremony for the anniversary of the May Revolution of 1810, where Milei, a libertarian, and his cabinet were present, Archbishop Jorge Garcia Cuerva, told the congregation that in Argentina, quote, fraternity, tolerance, and respect are dying, unquote. He called for the support for the poor young people who are victims of drug trafficking and pensioners. Malai has implemented sweeping public spending cuts since taking office at the end of 2023 in a bid to control the country's years-long economic crisis. Pensioners who have been badly hit by the cuts protest in the streets every Wednesday and often face police repression. Garcia Cuerva also referred to the, quote, constant aggression, unquote, on social media and also called for a stop to hate. During Garcia Cuerva's comments, Malai was seen listening with a stern expression. Malai's government frequently uses social media to refer to politicians, economists, and journalists who question its policies as, quote, baboons, degenerates, underachievers, and monogoloids, unquote. Finally, police and customs officials have made another drug bust discovering 30 pounds of cannabis worth $180,000 concealed inside a piece of furniture at Deepwater Harbor. On Thursday, May 22, officers seized a gray sofa containing 30 vacuum-sealed packages of cannabis. The packages were hidden inside the furniture and have an estimated street value of $180,000. The sofa and controlled substance have been transported to police headquarters for further processing, with investigations continuing. This seizure marks the second significant drug bust last week. Just days earlier on Tuesday, officers conducting a joint operation at the VC Bird International Airport cargo shed discovered 23 vacuum-sealed packages of cannabis weighing 23 pounds with an estimated value of approximately $138,000. Thank you for watching. Do have a productive rest of the week. Until next time.
September 1, 2025, the day Guyanese will go to the polls. President urges nation to remain vigilant and unified. Ferguson reminds Guyanese to remember ADRIANNA Young as Guyana celebrates its 59th independence anniversary. No elections held in Guyana in support of Venezuela's SHAM elections for the ESSEQUIBO region. And BARABINA roads and bridges almost impassable. Residents cry for help. Those are our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.